Now available in paperback and e-readers, Spinsterella. Discover the dark side of love in this goth and lovely romance with Spinsterella. Get Spinsterella in paperback and e-readers at your favorite online bookseller today.
Many brothers wonder why so many black women are difficult to have relationships with. And the reason why many black women are difficult to have relationships with is not because she got involved with Pookie and Ray Ray. It's because she was raised in a dysfunctional home at an early age. Now, the foundations for many black women being so angry and so bitter is due to the home that some were raised in, and because they were raised in a home environment where they got no love, they don't know how to love a man in a relationship. Now, most black males who talk about the gender war will again talk about Pookie and Ray Ray, but they don't really want to look at the single mother household that many young black girls were raised in and how that household laid the foundation for this woman being so bitter and angry today. Now, in many of these single mother households, what happens is since there's no father in the home to meet the emotional needs of the mother starts to not see the daughter as somebody who needs to be nurtured and given guidance. No, she sees the daughter as competition. And she sees the daughter as competition for access to the attention of men and the access to their resources. And because she sees her daughter as competition, she wants to find a way to eliminate her daughter so that she can go out here and not have to deal with competing against her in the social marketplace. That's one of the reasons why many single black mothers are angry at their daughters. They're angry at their daughters because they are afraid that they have to compete with their daughters in the social marketplace, and that anger is what leads to many of the single black mothers and the divorced mothers being so angry at their daughters that they're always looking to push them to be achievers. The reason why they want to push them to be academic achievers is because they don't want to compete with their daughters in the social marketplace, and they want to work towards getting their daughters out of their homes so that they won't have to deal with direct competition in the social marketplace. So that's why many single black mothers are very abusive towards their daughters. This is why they will go out and make all sorts of incredible demands, go out here and look to verbally and emotionally abuse their daughters, because many of these women, they fear the having to again compete with their daughters in the social marketplace because they are going to be younger and more attractive. And this anger starts at a very early age, and it starts because again the woman is out here looking for a new boyfriend or a new man, but the whole thing of looking for that new man basically puts that daughter's life in jeopardy, because when she's out here looking for that new man, she's not looking for men of quality. At this point, she is basically desperate, and that leaves her open to many of the predators like these whoremonger males. Now, these males are these deviant beta males who are just looking for any place to lay their head, and they get involved with these women, and as they get involved with these women, they start participating in deviancy by abusing the daughters in some cases, and this starts to add to the trauma that this young girl is dealing with, just as related to just living in that home. So she's already dealing with verbal and physical abuse from a demanding mother who wants to get her out of her house as soon as possible. And then on top of that, the mother is bringing men into the house, and as she brings the men into the house, and these men are again of poor character, these men are abusing the young girl and basically doing all sorts of deviant acts to her, and all of this trauma is being compounded as related to this girl at a very young age. So she's already got a foundation in anger towards black men because of these different men coming into her life. And many of these men, again, as they are abusing this girl, this is messing up her spirit, and it's twisting her spirit because these men are coming into her body before she can even enter puberty. So she's got a lot of mental and emotional damage before she can even enter adolescence. And then once she enters into adolescence, she's looking to escape from that toxic home. And because she's looking to escape from that toxic home, what she does is she looks to get involved with the Pookie and the Ray Ray to escape that home, and she hopes that this man will be able to lead her out of a toxic situation. But in many cases, your Pookie and your Ray Ray can't even lead themselves. And while these men go out here and make big promises, what happens is that young teenage black girl winds up trying to buy into these promises in a covert contract. And as she tries to buy into these promises that are in that covert contract, she's hoping that this man will go out here and be the Prince Charming that will deliver her out of the hostile situation she's dealing with the single mother. Unfortunately, many of the Pookies and the Ray Rays, all they want to do is get her to drop the skid mark underwear, and then once he gets his taste of the atomic waste, he's out to bounce, not understanding he's further compounding the emotional damage that has happened to this young teenage black girl. So this young teenage black girl has already started out with a foundation of dysfunction from an angry mother that's compounded by possible abuse from a man or an uncle or a stepfather or one of these other deviant males, and then she gets her heart broken by this Pookie or this Ray Ray, and this is what leads to many sisters winding up becoming extremely angry, extremely bitter, and really making it where it's impossible for any decent black man of character to possibly have any sort of relationship with her, because at this point this woman has already had the sexual relations and also been abused, so she's already gotten soul ties, and these soul ties from these males have led to this woman having a serious conflict inside of her spirit. And this conflict inside of her spirit, this is what compounded with the verbal and emotional trauma that she has received in the home, led to her becoming so angry and so jaded that she believes that she has to erect emotional walls. Because as she was out here, she was hoping she could trust someone at an early age to meet her emotional needs and nurture her, but there was nobody there to meet her emotional needs and nurture her. There was nobody there to give her any sort of care, and many of the people in her life who were supposed to care for her, like her father, wasn't there, and these predatory males looked to abuse her. So this woman has already put up an emotional wall at an early age, and since she's put up this emotional wall at an early age and she's got these soul ties and this DNA from these other men inside of her, this makes it where it is almost impossible for her to bond with another man of character. And whenever she gets involved with another man of character, what happens is she winds up driving that man away because she does not know how to trust, and even worse, she cannot pair bond with that man because she's got all of these demons inside of her, and these demons are driving her to keep that emotional wall up because she doesn't trust anybody to have a relationship with her. So many black men, when they go out here, they get their college degrees, they get their jobs, and they're looking to go out here and build. They find that they cannot build with many of these sisters because these sisters have been broken down before they can ever run into these men. That is why it is so difficult for so many black men out here who are good brothers to have relationships with some sisters out here. It's very difficult because the women that they're trying to get involved with, they can't build with them, they can't teach them anything, because these women have been broken down at an early age, and they've been broken down and damaged to the point where there's nobody who can fix them but the Most High God. And sadly, because many of the black pastors that are out here are not teaching the Word of God like master teachers like Ringo is teaching, what happens is many of these sisters out here, they wind up continuing to hurt, they continue to have their pain, they continue to have trauma, and because they have this trauma, they can't be a helpmeet to a man, because they can't even help themselves because of all of the trauma they have experienced by growing up in toxic environments like single mother households. Because as this sister is in this toxic environment, dealing with all of this trauma and abuse, she's just not getting any sort of nurturing or any sort of love. And because she doesn't get love, she does not know how to share love with a man. And that's why many sisters are struggling out here. And many black males, they'll be sitting up there talking about the black woman is so bad. Well, the conditions that many sisters are raised in, this is why many of them are so bad. And a lot of people, they'll just look at the surface and see, oh, it's Pookie and Ray Ray that made that sister all bitter and twisted. No, it goes beyond Pookie and Ray Ray. Pookie and Ray Ray are just the surface as related to why this sister is so angry and so bitter. No, what happened was many of these sisters were bitter back early on when they were growing up very young, and they were bitter because Mama was angry about a lot of hurts that she had to deal with in her life. And as she was dealing with her hurts, she took out her hurts on her daughters, and her daughters then took out the hurts that Mama gave them and the men in her mama's life gave them and put them onto the men in their lives. And again, all of this projection is why many of these women are so angry. And again, this emotional wall is just very wide and very thick. But what's really sad is many of these sisters don't see that the emotional walls they're putting up are keeping out many of those brothers out here who want to share love with them. But many of these sisters, because they never knew how to love themselves, don't know how to tear down that wall that is keeping them inside of that place that they've kept themselves. And again, in that place, sadly, they remain broken, unable to receive healing from the broken heart that they had ever since they were very little. And many of these sisters, again, they have all of this emotional and mental trauma, but nobody wants to talk about that trauma. They want to talk about how there are bad black men, and I will agree there are some bad black men, like the perverts and sexual deviants who abused these women when they were young girls. These were sick monsters, but that should not be projected onto all black men to make us look like we're the bad guy, when the actual bad thing was the situation this young sister was raised in. And she was raised in that situation because many of these black women bought into rhetoric about single mothers and as related to the feminist movement. Others fell into this situation because a relationship fell apart. And many of these women, because they did not know how to cope, went out here taking out their anger on their children because they were angry at the children's father. And because they were angry at the children's father, what happened was that anger that they directed at those kids became the anger that these sisters had. And as these sisters had their own anger at that whole situation and at that father, That further became compounded when the man abused them, and it further became more when the mother abused them and the boyfriend wound up betraying them. And again, a lot of brothers, they're thinking, oh, I'm trying to have a relationship with this sister, but this sister, she was broken down, so she can't build with you because she can't be a helpmeet, because she can't help herself, and she can't help herself in a lot of cases because a lot of black women have not acknowledged their hurt. They have not acknowledged their pain. They're still trying to be the strong, independent black woman that the white feminists told them to be, not understanding that you were not made to be strong like that. No, it takes strength of character to admit that you have problems and that you need to go to get help to work on your problems. That's the thing that many black women don't want to acknowledge. They don't want to acknowledge that, yes, I've got a troubled childhood, I've got serious issues, I've got things I need to work out, and I've got things that I need help on, and I need the help of someone more than myself. I mean, sisters need the help of the Most High God, as I see it, to try to get away from all of these hurts, to heal that broken heart, to heal that shattered spirit that had been done in by all of that trauma. And they need to go out here and first acknowledge that, yes, this is beyond my ability to handle, because a lot of sisters, the reason why your relationships are failing is because you don't have a relationship with the Most High One, and two, you don't have a understanding that many of the relationships you had in the past were dysfunctional. And because these relationships were dysfunctional, what's happening is you're wondering, why aren't things working out with these men? Well, they're not working out with these men, black men out here, because a lot of times, a lot of black women have daddy issues because their fathers abandoned them. They have daddy issues because men in their lives who were supposed to protect them did not protect them, but betrayed them by abusing them. And they have men issues because they got involved with a lot of the wrong dudes like the Pookies and the Ray Rays. And since these men could not go out here and be the leader that she wanted to be and provide her with a foundation of emotional security, what's happening is these women become extremely insecure. And every time that a man looks to get closer to them, they throw up a wall because they are afraid, and they're afraid that if they trust this man will hurt them. So what they do is look to hurt that man so that he won't be able to get closer to them. And this whole mistrust, what it does is it creates a paradigm of failure that I talk about in my book, Why 70% of Black Women Are Single. And this paradigm of failure, what it does is makes it where black women are not able to have a relationship with any man because she's not looking at the issues that lead to her not being able to get closer to men. And the reason why she can't get closer to men is because she has not processed the trauma, because a lot of this trauma happens when children are before adolescence, and a lot of times children don't process this trauma. And because they can't process the trauma and work through it, what happens is they keep erecting emotional walls as these demons continue to drive them. And sadly, these demons drive many of these women to become miserable, and they only wind up becoming miserable in the company of other black women because they don't know how to have relationships with men, and they don't know how to have relationships with men because the men in their lives when they were younger were sick and depraved. And that's why they have a hard time having relationships with men, because their mothers brought all these bottom-feeding men into their lives. So a lot of people are wondering, oh, why are black women so angry and bitter? Well, that foundation starts very early on, and it goes beyond Pookie and Ray Ray. It goes all the way back to many of these sisters and the households they're in. And many of those households lead to situations that most men cannot go out here and help because this woman can't help herself. Because in many cases, many sisters don't acknowledge that they need help because they're going to try to be strong and independent. But you need help if you want to have a relationship with a man, because the traumas that create these emotional walls are keeping many sisters from the man that they want to get involved with, but they really, again, need the help of God to be able to overcome all of these issues, that and possibly the help of possibly some people in mental health, because these traumas, again, run extremely deep. And a lot of people wonder, oh, why are these black women so angry? Again, that anger is based on fear of not being able to trust a man, because this woman has been hurt by other men. And a lot of guys out here, they try to help this woman break through the walls, but they can't get her through the walls because she's too scared to face her fears. And that's one of the reasons why many brothers out here are having a hard time with black women. And a lot of them, they will complain about the issues about black women, not understanding that many sisters out here, there's going to be that a lot of them need a lot of help. And again, sometimes this help is beyond a man's ability to deal with, because in order for a woman to get the help that she needs, she has to acknowledge that she is hurt. She has to acknowledge that she is broken. She has to acknowledge that she has emotional damage, and she has to work on that damage if she wants to get close to somebody else. And again, this is a lot of stuff to deal with, and a lot of guys who are young, they're just not ready to deal with this kind of stuff. They're not ready to deal with this woman's serious issues. It's just a lot that goes beyond most men's ability. And again, this is why it's so hard for a black man to love a black woman, because a lot of black women, they have a lot of hurts that go beyond the ability of a black man to understand in some cases. Now, if you want to learn more about why so many black women are single, you can pick up my book, Why 70% of Black Women Are Single, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also pick up Why 70% of Black Women Are Single at other online booksellers like Smashwords, the iBookstore, Google Play, and Barnes & Noble. And if you want to see me do more videos about relationships and black men and black women, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.
Now available for the first time in paperback, Why 70% of Black Women Are Single. Learn all the reasons why so many black women can't find a husband and why 70% of black women are single. Get your copy of Why 70% of Black Women Are Single on Amazon.com today.